They say that fate has a cruel sense of humor, that the moon goddess weaves destinies with threads both silver and shadow, binding souls together in ways that break them, before they can ever truly heal. I used to believe in destiny. I used to believe that love was a gift, something sacred, something worth waiting for. But standing here now, in the suffocating darkness of my tiny room, with nothing but the distant howl of wolves echoing through the mountains, I wonder if I ever truly understood what it meant to hope. My name is Arya Moonstone, and tomorrow, my life as I know it ends. The morning came too quickly. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, Damien's face, twisted with disgust as he spoke those words that shattered me. I, Damien Blackwood, reject you, Arya Moonstone, as my mate. Even now, hours later, the phantom pain still throbs in my chest where the bond once lived, where it died. The auction house looms before me like a monument to despair, built from dark stone and iron. It stands at the edge of the Crescent Falls territory, a place where unwanted she-wolves are brought to, be redistributed, sold, claimed by whoever has the gold or the power to take them. My hands are bound with silver-laced rope. It burns, but I don't cry out. I won't give them the satisfaction. Move along. A guard growls, shoving me forward. I stumble but catch myself. Around me, other she-wolves shuffle in line, their eyes hollow, their spirits broken. Some are rogues. Others, like me, are rejected mates, discarded like damaged goods by the wolves who were supposed to love them. The irony isn't lost on me. Just yesterday I was supposed to be Luna of the Shadowcrest Pack, Damien's chosen, his equal. Now I'm livestock. The heavy doors groan open and we're herded inside. The main hall is massive. Vaulted ceilings disappear into shadow, and torches flicker along the stone walls, casting dancing shadows that make the whole place feel alive. Predatory. Hundreds of eyes turn toward us. Alphas, betas, wealthy wolves from packs across the northern territories. They sit in tiered seats, watching us like hunters studying prey. My stomach twists. Lot 47 through 53 to the stage, the auctioneer commands. That's me. Lot 51. We're led up wooden steps onto a platform. My legs feel like water, but I force them to move. One foot, then another, don't break. Not here. Not in front of them. The auctioneer, a thin, weasel-like man with greasy hair, begins his speech. His voice echoes through the hall like a death knell. Gentlemen, we have a fine selection this evening. Young, healthy she-wolves from various packs. Some rejected, some without family, all in need of strong leadership and firm guidance. Firm guidance, as if we're wild animals that need taming. My jaw clenches. One by one, the she-wolves beside me are called forward. The auctioneer lists their attributes like they're selling horses. Age, pack origin, whether they've borne children. Then it's my turn. Lot 51, he announces, and a guard yanks me forward into the center of the stage. The torchlight is blinding. I can barely see the faces in the crowd, but I feel their eyes on me, assessing, judging, devouring. Arya Moonstone. The auctioneer continues. 22 years of age, formerly betrothed to Alpha Damien Blackwood of the Shadowcrest Pack, rejected just yesterday. A murmur ripples through the audience. Some laugh. Others lean forward with interest. My face burns, but I keep my chin up. I won't cower. No children. Unmated. Omega lineage, but with surprising resilience. Omega lineage. The words are spoken like a flaw. In the wolf world, Omegas are the lowest rank. Weak, submissive, meant to serve. I've spent my whole life fighting that label, proving I'm more than what my bloodline says I am. But here, in this place, none of that matters. We'll start the bidding at 500 gold. Silence. My heart sinks. 500, the auctioneer repeats, his voice strained. Surely someone sees the value in 200, a voice calls from the back. Laughter follows. My hands ball into fists. 200 gold, the auctioneer says weakly. Do I hear 250? More silence. I'm not even worth 500 gold. The humiliation is suffocating. 250, anyone? She's young, healthy. 100. Another voice sneers. And that's generous. The crowd erupts in laughter. My vision blurs, and I realize with horror that tears are threatening to spill. No, not here. 100 gold, the auctioneer says, desperation creeping into his tone. Going once? 50, someone shouts. More laughter. I want to disappear. I want the ground to open up and swallow me whole. 50 gold, going once. Going twice. 10 million gold. The voice cuts through the chaos like a blade through silk. Everything stops. The laughter dies. The murmurs cease. Even the auctioneer freezes mid-sentence, his mouth hanging open. Slowly, every head in the room turns toward the back of the hall. And that's when I see him. He stands in the shadows near the entrance. But even from this distance, his presence is overwhelming. Tall, easily over 6.5 feet, broad-shouldered, with a build that speaks of raw, brutal power. His hair is dark, almost black, and falls just past his jaw in waves that catch the torchlight. But it's his eyes that steal the breath from my lungs. Silver, like molten moonlight. And they're fixed directly on me, the auctioneer stammers. I'm sorry, did you say 10 million gold? The stranger repeats, his voice low and absolute. It's the kind of voice that doesn't need to be raised to command a room. For the she-wolf, Arya Moonstone. My heart is pounding so hard I'm certain everyone can hear it. That's more than... The auctioneer seems unable to finish his sentence. The stranger begins to walk forward, and the crowd parts like water before him. Every wolf in the room lowers their gaze in submission, alphas included. Who is he? He climbs the steps to the stage with the grace of a predator, each movement deliberate and unhurried. When he reaches me, he stops just inches away. Up close, he's even more devastating. Sharp jawline, high cheekbones, a scar cuts through his left eyebrow, giving him a dangerous edge. He's dressed in black, a fitted shirt that does nothing to hide the muscles beneath, and pants that look both expensive and practical. But it's the power radiating from him that makes my wolf whimper in the back of my mind. This isn't just an alpha. This is something far more terrifying. Look at me, he commands softly. I don't want to obey, but my body betrays me. My eyes lift to meet his. Those silver eyes study me with an intensity that makes me feel stripped bare. Like he can see every secret, every wound, every shattered piece of my soul. You're coming with me, he says. It's not a question. I don't even know who you are, I manage to whisper. His lips curve into the barest hint of a smile. Cold. Controlled. My name is Kale Stormborn, he says, and the temperature in the room seems to drop. Alpha King of the Northern Territories. The breath leaves my body. Alpha King, the ruler of all packs in the north. The most powerful wolf in existence, and he just bought me for 10 million gold. Why? The word escapes before I can stop it. Kale's eyes flash with something I can't quite read. Amusement? Maybe, or something darker. Because, little wolf, he says, leaning in close enough that his breath ghosts across my ear, sending shivers down my spine. You're mine now. The journey from the auction house feels like being caught in a waking dream, or perhaps a nightmare. I haven't decided which. Kale's carriage is nothing like the crude wooden carts I'm used to. This is pure luxury. Black lacquered wood reinforced with silver, drawn by 4 massive horses that look bred for both speed and endurance. Inside, the seats are upholstered in midnight blue velvet, and the windows are curtained with heavy silk. I sit on one side, my bound hands finally freed but still aching. Kale sits across from me, silent and watchful. He hasn't spoken since we left. I watch the landscape roll by through the window, forests growing denser, mountains rising in the distance like ancient sentinels. We're heading north, deeper into territories I've only heard about in stories. You're quiet, Kale finally says. I turn to look at him. He hasn't moved. but his eyes are fixed on me with that same unnerving intensity. "What did you expect?" I ask, and I'm surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "That I'd thank you for buying me?" Something flickers in his expression. Respect, perhaps. "Most she-wolves in your position would be grateful," he observes. "I'm not most she-wolves." "No," he agrees softly. "You're not." Silence settles between us again, but it's different this time, charged. "Why did you do it?" I ask, unable to contain my curiosity any longer. 10 million gold is... It's absurd. You could have bought half the she-wolves in that building for that price. "I don't want half the she-wolves in that building," Cale replies. "I want you." The words send an involuntary shiver through me. But why? He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees, and for the first time I see something genuine in his expression. Something almost vulnerable. "Tell me, Arya, do you know what it feels like to search for something your entire life, only to find it in the last place you'd ever think to look?" I swallow hard. "I don't understand." "You will," he promises. "In time." The carriage hits a bump and I'm jolted to the side. Cale's hand shoots out, steadying me with a grip that's firm, but surprisingly gentle. The moment his skin touches mine, something electric passes between us. His eyes widen fractionally, and I know he felt it too. He releases me quickly, sitting back as if burned. "We'll reach Stormborn Castle by nightfall," he says, his voice once again cool and controlled. "You'll be given quarters in the East Wing. Food, clothing, anything you need will be provided. And what do you expect in return?" I ask, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. "Alphas don't spend 10 million gold without expecting something." Cale's jaw tightens. "I expect your cooperation. Your presence. Nothing more. You're lying." His eyes flash dangerously. "I am many things, Arya Moonstone, but I am not a liar." "Then what am I to you?" I demand, frustration boiling over. "A pet? A trophy? Another possession for the great Alpha King? You," he says with quiet intensity, "are the answer to a question I've been asking for 10 years. Before I can ask what that means, the carriage begins to slow. Cale glances out the window and his expression hardens. "We're here," he announces. I lean forward to look, and my breath catches. Stormborn Castle rises from the mountainside like something out of a legend. Massive stone walls tower into the darkening sky, punctuated by turrets and battlements that seem to touch the clouds. Torches burn in brackets along the walls, their flames dancing in the evening wind. It's beautiful and terrifying. The gates open as we approach, enormous iron structures that could withstand a siege. Guards line the walls, and I can feel their eyes on the carriage as we pass through. We pull into a massive courtyard where dozens of wolves have gathered. Servants, warriors, nobles, all standing at attention. The carriage stops, and Cale steps out first. The moment his feet touch the ground, every wolf present drops to one knee. "My king," they murmur in unison. He ignores them, turning instead to offer me his hand. I hesitate. Taking his hand feels like accepting something I don't fully understand yet. But what choice do I have? I place my hand in his and step down. The moment I do, every eye shifts to me. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Who is she? Did he bring someone from the south? She looks so ordinary. Kyle's hand tightens around mine. A silent message of support. Or perhaps possession. "This is Arya Moonstone," he announces, his voice carrying across the courtyard with absolute authority. "She is under my protection. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me." The whispers die immediately. A woman steps forward from the crowd, tall, elegant, with auburn hair and sharp green eyes. She's beautiful in a fierce, predatory way that makes my wolf instinctively wary. "My king," she says, her voice smooth as honey but with an edge of ice. "You didn't mention you'd be bringing back a guest." "I don't answer to you, Selena," Cal replies coolly. The woman, Selena, smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. Of course not, my king. I only worry about unexpected complications. Her gaze slides to me, assessing and dismissive in equal measure. There are no complications, Kale says firmly. Arya will be residing in the East Wing. See that she has everything she needs. The East Wing? Celine's carefully maintained composure slips for just a moment. But are you questioning my orders? The temperature seems to drop 10 degrees. No, my king, Celine says quickly, lowering her gaze. Kale turns to me, and his expression softens. Barely perceptible, but I notice. Come, he says. I'll show you to your rooms personally. As we walk toward the castle's main entrance, I can feel dozens of eyes burning into my back. These wolves don't trust me. They don't want me here, and I have a sinking feeling that my troubles are only just beginning. The castle's interior is even more magnificent than its exterior. Kale leads me through corridors lined with tapestries depicting ancient battles and legendary wolves. Chandeliers hang from vaulted ceilings, their crystals catching the torchlight and scattering it in rainbow fragments across the stone walls. Everything here speaks of power, history, legacy. I feel impossibly small. The East Wing is the oldest part of the castle, Kale explains as we walk, his voice echoing slightly in the vast space. It was built by my great-grandfather during the First War. Most of it has been sealed off for years. Why? He glances at me. Because it holds memories some would prefer to forget. We climb a spiral staircase, up, 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 until my legs are burning and my breath comes shorter. Finally, we emerge into a corridor that's noticeably different from the rest of the castle. The walls here are bare stone, ancient and weathered. The air is colder, and there's a weight to this place, like the walls themselves remember things. Kale stops before a heavy wooden door and produces a key from his pocket. The lock clicks and the door swings open. This will be your sanctuary, he says. Stepping aside, I walk in, and despite my reservations, I can't help but gasp. The room is enormous, easily twice the size of my entire house back in Shadowcrest. A 4-poster bed dominates one side, draped in deep blue silks. A fireplace crackles with fresh flames, warming the space. Windows stretch from floor to ceiling, offering a breathtaking view of the mountains and forests below. But what catches my attention most is the bookshelf that covers an entire wall, filled with volumes that look ancient and precious. It's beautiful, I whisper before I can stop myself. I'm glad you approve, Kyle says, and there's something almost tender in his voice. I turn to face him. He stands in the doorway, outlined by the corridor's torchlight, looking every bit the powerful king he is. But in this moment, there's something else there too. Something vulnerable. Why the East Wing? I ask. Celine seemed surprised. Selene is my beta's sister, Kale explains. She's been trying to position herself as my chosen mate for years. She sees any other female as a threat. So I'm already an enemy. You're under my protection, he says firmly. That makes you untouchable. But I notice he doesn't actually answer my question about why this wing specifically. I move to the window, looking out at the darkening landscape. The moon is rising, full and silver, casting its light across the world like a blessing, or a curse. I had a mate once, I say quietly. Did you know that? Behind me I hear Kale shift. I know, Damien. We grew up together. I thought we were meant to be. I laugh, but it's a bitter sound. The moon goddess's perfect plan, right? 2 wolves bound by fate. What happened? Kale's voice is soft, closer than before. He rejected me, I say, the words still like glass in my throat. The day before our mating ceremony. In front of the entire pack, he looked at me and said I wasn't good enough, that an Omega could never be his Luna. Silence. Then I feel Kale's presence directly behind me, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body, but not touching. He's a fool, Kale says, and there's steel in his voice. Rank means nothing compared to strength of spirit. And you, Arya Moonstone, have more spirit than most alphas I've known. I turn to face him, and I'm startled by how close he is. Those silver eyes seem to glow in the moonlight, and for a moment, I forget to breathe. How can you know that? I whisper. You don't even know me, don't I? He reaches up slowly, giving me time to pull away, and brushes a strand of hair from my face. His fingers are warm, and the touch sends electricity skittering across my skin. I've been watching you for months, Arya, he admits. Long before the auction. Long before your rejection. My eyes widen. What? I've had wolves stationed near Shadowcrest territory for half a year, he continues. They sent reports about a she-wolf who didn't act like an Omega, who challenged her alpha, who stood up for weaker pack members even when it cost her, who refused to bow. I'm stunned into silence. So yes, he says softly, I know you. Perhaps better than you know yourself. That's... I struggle to find words. That's insane. And disturbing. And necessary, he interrupts. Because I've been searching for you for a very long time. Searching for me specifically? That doesn't make any sense. Kale's expression becomes guarded again. There are things you don't understand yet. Things I can't explain until... A sharp knock at the door interrupts him. Kyle's demeanor changes instantly, the vulnerable moment vanishing, replaced by the hard, commanding king. Enter, he calls. A young male wolf steps in, dressed in the dark uniform of Kale's personal guard. He bows deeply. My king, forgive the interruption, but there's urgent news from the southern border. Kale's jaw tightens. What is it? Rogues, my king. A large pack of them. They've attacked 2 villages in the last 3 days. Casualties? 17 dead. Dozens injured. The air in the room grows heavy. I can feel Kale's power crackling around him like a storm about to break. Assemble the War Council, he orders. I want a full report within the hour. Yes, my king. The guard bows again and hurries out. Kale turns back to me, and I see the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. I'm sorry, he says. I need to attend to this. Of course, I say quickly. This is your kingdom. Your people need you. Something flashes in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or gratitude. Lock the door behind me, he instructs. Don't open it for anyone except me or the servants I send. This castle is full of wolves who won't appreciate your presence. I can take care of myself. I know you can, he says, but humor me anyway. He moves toward the door, then pauses and looks back at me one last time. Arya? Welcome to Stormborn. Then he's gone, and I'm alone in this beautiful, ancient room that feels like both a sanctuary and a prison. I move to the door and turn the heavy lock, hearing it click into place. Outside, thunder rumbles in the distance, and I wonder what storms are coming. For me, for Kale, for whatever strange destiny has brought us together. Sleep doesn't come easily in Stormborn Castle. I lie in the enormous bed, staring up at the canopy above me, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of this place. The wind howls through the mountains with a voice that sounds almost alive. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howl. Patrol wolves, I assume, running the borders. Every sound makes me tense. Every creak of old wood makes my heart race. I'm not afraid of the physical danger. Not really. I've survived worse than hostile wolves. No, what terrifies me is the unknown. Kale's words keep echoing in my mind. I've been searching for you for a very long time. Why? What could an Alpha King possibly want with a rejected Omega from an insignificant pack? I finally give up on sleep around midnight and wrap myself in a thick robe I found in the wardrobe. The fire has burned down to embers, and the room has grown cold. That's when I hear it. Voices. Low and muffled, but definitely voices, coming from somewhere beyond the walls. I press my ear against the stone, trying to make out words, but they're too distant. The sound seems to be coming from below. My eyes drift to the floor, and that's when I notice it for the first time. A seam in the wooden planks. Too straight to be natural, too deliberate to be anything but intentional. A hidden door. Every instinct tells me to leave it alone. To climb back into bed and pretend I never noticed. Kale told me to stay in this room for a reason, but I've never been good at following orders. I crouch down and run my fingers along the seam, searching for a catch or trigger. After several minutes, I find it. A small indentation in the wood that, when pressed, releases a hidden mechanism. The floor panel lifts, revealing a narrow stone staircase descending into darkness. I should close it. I should absolutely close it and forget about it. Instead, I light a candle from the dying embers of the fireplace and begin to descend. The stairs are steep and worn smooth by centuries of use. The air grows colder with each step, and I can feel the weight of stone pressing in around me. This passage is old, older than the castle itself. Maybe, finally, after what feels like forever, the stairs end at a narrow corridor. The voices are clearer now. Told you this was a mistake. That's Celine's voice, sharp with barely controlled anger. The king makes his own decisions. A male voice, deep and measured. Don't be a fool, Marcus. You know as well as I do that bringing her here could destroy everything we've worked for. I inch closer, pressing myself against the wall as I peer around a corner. I'm looking into what appears to be an underground chamber, large and circular, lit by torches mounted on the walls. Celine stands in the center, her auburn hair catching the firelight. Beside her is a massive male wolf with gray-streaked hair and the bearing of a seasoned warrior. The prophecy? Marcus begins. The prophecy is a myth, Celine snaps. A fairy tale the old wolves tell to give their lives meaning. There is no destined queen. There is no mystical power that will restore the kingdom. But the king believes. The king is blinded by hope, Celine interrupts. He's been searching for this mysterious she-wolf for a decade, and what does he find? An Omega. A rejected, powerless Omega who couldn't even keep her own mate interested. The words sting, even though I knew she'd think that way. She's more than she appears, Marcus says quietly. The king wouldn't have claimed her otherwise. Or perhaps he's simply desperate, Celine counters. The southern packs grow restless. The rogue attacks increase. Our king needs an heir, and he's running out of time. So he settles for the first she-wolf, who shows even a hint of the characteristics the prophecy describes. Those are dangerous words, Celine. These are dangerous times, Marcus. And if that girl, that nobody, thinks she can waltz in here and claim what should rightfully be mine, she's going to learn very quickly how things work in the north. The temperature in the corridor seems to drop. Are you threatening her? Marcus asks, and there's warning in his voice now. I'm stating facts, Celine replies smoothly. Accidents happen in old castles. Falls from great heights. Poisonings from contaminated food. It would be tragic, of course. The king would be devastated, but he'd recover. And he'd need someone strong to help him through his grief. I've heard enough. I turn to leave, to get back to my room before they discover me. But my foot catches on an uneven stone. The sound echoes through the passage like a gunshot. Everything stops. What was that? Celine's voice is sharp. Someone's in the passages, Marcus growls. Panic floods through me. I just run, racing back up the stairs as fast as I can. Behind me, I hear footsteps pounding, growing closer. I burst through the hidden door and into my room, slamming it shut and pressing my weight against it. My hands scramble for the locking mechanism, my breath coming in gasps. It clicks into place just as I hear them reach the other side. Open this door. Celine's voice is muffled but furious. I don't respond, backing away slowly. I know you're in there, little Omega, she continues, and I can hear the malice dripping from every word. Did you enjoy your little adventure? Learn anything interesting? My heart is thundering so loud I'm certain they can hear it. This isn't over, Celine promises. You have no idea what you've walked into, no idea what's really at stake here. But you will, and when you do, you'll wish you'd died on that auction block. The footsteps retreat, and silence falls. I sink to the floor, my back against the wall, trying to process everything I just heard. A prophecy, a destined queen, something about restoring the kingdom, and Celine's thinly veiled threats. What have I gotten myself into? I scramble to my feet as the main door to my room rattles. Someone's trying the lock. Arya, it's me. Open the door. Kyle, I rush over and unlock it. He strides in, and I see immediately that something is wrong. There's blood on his shirt. Not much, but enough to notice. His expression is dark, stormy. Are you all right? He asks, his eyes scanning me quickly. I'm fine, but you're... Not my blood, he says curtly. He notices my candle, still burning, and the fact that I'm fully dressed despite the late hour. His eyes narrow. Why are you awake? What happened? I hesitate. Should I tell him about the passage? About what I overheard? I couldn't sleep, I say finally. New place, strange sounds. He studies me for a long moment, and I have the distinct feeling he knows I'm not telling him everything, but he doesn't push. The rogue attack was worse than we thought, he says, moving to the fireplace and adding fresh wood. Flames spring up, casting his face in sharp relief. They're organized, strategic. This isn't random violence. What do you think it is? War, he says simply. Someone is building an army, and they're testing our defenses. The weight of that statement settles between us. Kyle, I say carefully. Why am I really here? He goes very still, his back to me. I told you, you're under my protection. That's not an answer. He turns to face me, and in his eyes, I see a war between truth and secrecy. There are things I need to tell you, he says finally. Things about your past, about who you really are, but not tonight. Tonight, you need rest, and I need to ensure the castle is secure. I overheard. I start, then catch myself. But it's too late. Kyle's eyes sharpen. What did you overhear? I take a breath. No point lying now. There's a hidden passage in this room. It leads down to chambers below. I heard Celine and Marcus talking about me, about a prophecy. Cale closes his eyes briefly, and when he opens them, there's resignation there. Of course there is, he mutters. The east wing was built with passages throughout. I should have remembered. He moves toward me, and there's an intensity in his gaze that makes me want to step back and lean forward simultaneously. What you heard. What did Celine say exactly? That you're searching for someone from a prophecy. A destined queen. And that she doesn't believe I'm that person. Cale's jaw tightens. Celine is entitled to her opinions. She's wrong, but she's entitled to them. So there is a prophecy. Yes. And you think I'm part of it. I know you are. How? My voice rises. How can you possibly know that? You don't know anything about me except what your spies told you. Because, Cale says, and suddenly he's right in front of me, close enough that I have to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. When I touched you for the first time, I felt something I haven't felt in 10 years. Something I thought I'd never feel again. What? I whisper. He reaches up, and this time when his fingers brush my cheek, I feel it too, that spark, that electricity, that sense of something bigger than both of us clicking into place. Hope, he says softly. Before I can respond, before I can process what's happening, he leans down and presses his forehead against mine. The gesture is surprisingly intimate, and I find myself closing my eyes, breathing in his scent, pine and mountain air and something uniquely him. I will tell you everything, he promises, his voice barely above a whisper. I will explain the prophecy and your role in it, and why I've been searching for you. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Every rational part of my brain screams that I shouldn't trust him, that I barely know him, that I've already been betrayed by one alpha. But when I open my eyes and look into his, I see something that stops my protests. Truth, vulnerability, and yes, hope. I'll try, I whisper. Something that might be a smile ghosts across his lips. That's all I ask. He steps back, and I immediately feel the loss of his warmth. Get some rest, he says, his voice returning to that commanding tone. "Tomorrow I'll show you the castle, introduce you properly to the court, and tomorrow night," he pauses, "tomorrow night I'll tell you everything. Promise?" "On my life." He moves toward the door, then stops and looks back at me one more time. "Lock this door. And Arya, stay away from the passages. Some secrets in this castle are dangerous." "I noticed," I say dryly. This time, he does smile, a real one, quick and genuine, and it transforms his face completely. Then he's gone, and I'm alone again with my racing thoughts and the flickering fire. I lock the door and move to the window, looking out at the moonlit landscape. Somewhere out there, rogues are gathering. Somewhere in this castle, Celine is plotting. And somewhere in the threads of fate, there's a prophecy that apparently has my name written in it. I press my hand against the cool glass and wonder what tomorrow will bring. Morning comes with a knock at my door. I wake with a start, momentarily disoriented by the unfamiliar surroundings. Sunlight streams through the tall windows, painting everything in shades of gold. "Miss Moonstone," a female voice calls from the hallway. "The king has sent me to attend to you." I climb out of bed, wrapping the robe around myself before unlocking the door. A young she-wolf stands in the corridor, perhaps 19 or 20, with kind brown eyes and honey-colored hair pulled back in a practical braid. She bows quickly. "My name is Lyra," she says. "I've been assigned as your personal attendant." "I don't need an attendant," I say automatically. Lyra's eyes widen slightly. "But," the king insisted, "he said you're to be treated as an honored guest, and all honored guests have attendants." There's something earnest about her that makes me soften. "All right," I concede. "What does being my attendant involve?" Lyra brightens immediately. "Oh, many things. I'll help you dress, arrange your meals, show you around the castle, and keep you company if you wish. I'll also—" She lowers her voice conspiratorially. "I can tell you which wolves to trust and which ones to avoid." Despite everything, I smile. "That second part sounds incredibly useful." "It is," she assures me. "Now, the king has requested your presence at breakfast in 1 hour. We should get you ready." She ushers me back into the room and immediately begins bustling about, opening wardrobes I hadn't even noticed, and pulling out gowns that look far too fine for someone like me. "I can't wear these," I protest as she holds up a deep emerald dress with silver embroidery. "Why not?" "Because I'm just an Omega. These are clothes for nobility." Lyra gives me a look that's surprisingly fierce for someone so young. "You're under the king's protection," she says firmly. "That makes you more important than half the nobles in this castle. Besides, these were brought here specifically for you. The king had them commissioned weeks ago." "Weeks ago? But he only—" I stop myself, but Lyra catches my meaning anyway. "Only met you yesterday?" she finishes, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "The king has been planning your arrival for quite some time, Miss Moonstone. Everyone in the castle has been buzzing about it." "What do they say?" I ask before I can stop myself. Lyra hesitates, suddenly very interested in smoothing out the dress. "Lyra?" "Some are curious," she says carefully. "Others are suspicious. And a few—" She trails off. "A few are hostile," I finish. She nods reluctantly. "Lady Celine has been vocal about her displeasure." "I'm sure she has." Lyra helps me into the emerald gown, and I have to admit, it fits perfectly. The fabric is softer than anything I've ever worn, and the cut is elegant without being ostentatious. When I look in the mirror, I barely recognize myself. "You look beautiful," Lyra says softly, "like a true Luna." The word makes something twist in my chest. Luna. I was supposed to be Luna once. "Come," Lyra says, sensing my discomfort. "We shouldn't keep the king waiting." She leads me through the castle's winding corridors, and in the daylight, I can appreciate the true magnificence of this place. Tapestries depicting legendary battles line the walls. Suits of ancient armor stand guard at intervals. Every window offers breathtaking views of the mountains and forests. We pass several groups of wolves, and I notice the reactions. Some bow respectfully, others merely stare. A few turn away entirely, whispering among themselves. Ignore them, Lyra murmurs. They'll come around once they see that the king favors you. And if they don't? Then they're fools. We arrive at a set of double doors carved with intricate wolf designs. 2 guards stand on either side, and they nod to Lyra before pushing the doors open. The dining hall beyond is spectacular. Sound of doors opening. Background conversation, dishes clattering. A long table dominates the center of the room, and seated around it are at least 20 wolves, all dressed in fine clothes, all radiating power and status. These are the nobles, I realize. The court conversation stops the moment I enter. Every eye turns toward me, and I feel the weight of their scrutiny like a physical thing. Kyle sits at the head of the table, and when his eyes meet mine, something in his expression softens. Arya, he says, rising from his seat, please join us. There's an empty chair to his right, the place of honor. I walk toward it with as much dignity as I can muster, acutely aware of every gaze following my movements. When I reach the chair, Kale himself pulls it out for me. Whispers ripple through the assembled nobles. Everyone, Kale announces, his voice carrying easily through the hall. This is Arya Moonstone. She is my guest, and under my personal protection. You will treat her with the respect due to her position. And what position is that exactly? A smooth voice asks. I look across the table to see Selene seated several places down, looking immaculate in a crimson gown. Her green eyes are fixed on me with barely concealed hostility. That is not your concern. Selene, Kale replies coolly. Forgive me, my king, Selene says, though her tone suggests she feels no need for forgiveness. I only wonder what official role Miss Moonstone will play in court. After all, precedent must be observed. Miss Moonstone's role will be determined in due course, Kale says, and there's steel beneath the courtesy. Until then, she is to be afforded every courtesy. Of course, Selene murmurs, but her eyes promise otherwise. Breakfast is served, an elaborate spread of fresh bread, roasted meats, fruits, and delicacies I don't even recognize. I try to eat, but my appetite has vanished under the weight of so many hostile stares. Kale leans closer, his voice low enough that only I can hear. Don't let them intimidate you, he murmurs. Half of them are all bark and no bite, and the other half are smart enough to respect my authority. Throughout the meal, various nobles attempt to engage Kale in conversation, discussing border patrols, trade negotiations, disputes between packs. He handles each matter with decisive efficiency, and I'm struck by how naturally leadership comes to him. But I also notice how often his eyes drift to me, checking to ensure I'm all right. Tell me, Miss Moonstone, a male voice suddenly addresses me. I look up to see an older wolf with gray hair and sharp blue eyes watching me with interest. What pack do you hail from? Shadowcrest, I reply, keeping my voice steady. Ah, yes. Alpha Damien's territory. The old wolf's expression remains neutral, a respectable pack if small. Indeed, I agree carefully. And what brings you to our northern lands? It's a trap, I realize. Whatever I say will be judged, dissected, used against me. Fate, I say simply. I believe the moon goddess guides us all to where we need to be. Several wolves exchange glances. The old wolf's eyebrows rise slightly. A diplomatic answer, he observes. I am Elder Thomas, Miss Moonstone. I served the king's father and grandfather before him. I hope we shall have the opportunity to speak more. I would be honored. Elder. He nods approvingly, and I feel like I've passed some sort of test. The meal continues, and gradually I begin to relax, if only slightly. Not all the wolves here are hostile. Some seem genuinely curious, others merely indifferent, but Selene's gaze never wavers, cold and calculating. After breakfast, Kale rises, and the entire room stands with him. Council meets in 1 hour, he announces. Arya, walk with me. It's not a request. I follow him out of the dining hall, acutely aware of the eyes tracking our departure. Once we're in the corridor, away from listening ears. Kale's formal demeanor relaxes slightly. "You handled that well," he says. "I felt like a mouse surrounded by wolves." Apt metaphor, considering. He almost smiles. "Come, I promise to show you the castle." He leads me through corridors and chambers, each more impressive than the last. The library is a cathedral of books, with shelves reaching 3 stories high. The training grounds house hundreds of warriors, sparring and drilling with lethal precision. The gardens are somehow beautiful even in late autumn, with frost-kissed roses and winter blooms. Throughout it all, Kale explains the history of Stormborn, how it was built, the battles it has weathered, the legends that surround it, but I notice he carefully avoids certain topics. The prophecy, why he brought me here, what he expects from me. We're walking through a gallery lined with portraits when I finally stop in front of a particular painting. It shows a she-wolf with silver hair and eyes like storm clouds. She's beautiful, regal, and there's something about her that seems almost familiar. "Who is she?" I ask. Kale goes very still beside me. "My mother," he says quietly. "Queen Lyanna Stormborn." I look closer at the portrait, and that's when I see it. The same silver eyes Kale has, though hers are softer, warmer. She was beautiful. She was extraordinary, Kyle says. And there's old pain in his voice. Strong, wise, beloved by the people. He pauses. "She died when I was 16. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. But I can hear in his voice that the wound has never truly healed. How did she—" I start, then catch myself. "I'm sorry, that's too personal." "No," Kyle says. "You should know. You deserve to know." He turns to face me fully. "My mother died because of a prophecy. The same prophecy that brought you here." My breath catches. 10 years ago, Kyle continues, his voice flat, emotionless, the tone of someone reciting a painful memory. "A seer came to the castle. She spoke of a great darkness coming, of a war that would consume the wolf packs and plunge the kingdom into chaos. She said that only one wolf could prevent it, a she-wolf born under specific signs, marked by the moon goddess herself." "Your mother," I whisper. "No," Kale's eyes meet mine. "My mother tried to fulfill the prophecy. She underwent a ritual meant to channel the moon goddess's power. But something went wrong. The ritual consumed her, burned her from the inside out. She died in my father's arms, screaming in agony. Horror washes over me. My father went mad with grief," he continues. "Within a year, he was dead too, challenged and killed by a rival alpha who sensed weakness. I became king at 17, ruling a kingdom on the brink of civil war, with a prophecy hanging over my head like a curse. But the prophecy? The seer got it wrong," Kale says harshly. "My mother wasn't the one. She died for nothing." He takes a breath, visibly struggling for control. "But before she died, the seer spoke again. She said the true destined wolf hadn't been born yet, that she would come of age in 2 decades, marked by rejection and rising from humiliation. That she would either save the kingdom or watch it burn." The pieces click into place. "You think I'm that wolf?" I breathe. "I know you are. But I'm nobody. I'm an Omega, rejected and powerless." "Rejected," Kyle interrupts, stepping closer. "Born under the lunar eclipse 22 years ago. Marked by eyes that change color with the moon's phases. Yes, I've noticed. Survived challenges that should have broken you, and possessing a strength that has nothing to do with rank or breeding. I want to deny it. Want to tell him he's wrong, that he's seeing things that aren't there. But something deep inside me, something I've always pushed down, always ignored, stirs at his words. "What does the prophecy say I'm supposed to do?" I ask. Kale's expression becomes guarded. "That's what we need to discover." The seer's words were cryptic, fragmented. But one thing was clear. The destined wolf must bond with the Alpha King. Only together can they face what's coming. Bond? My voice comes out strangled. "You mean—" I mean become my queen, Kale says bluntly. My mate. My equal in all things. The world seems to tilt. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. I don't even know you. And you don't know me, not really. You can't just decide we're supposed to be mates based on some ancient prophecy. I'm not deciding anything, Kale says, and there's frustration in his voice now. The moon goddess decided. Fate decided. I'm simply acknowledging what already is. This is insane. Perhaps, he agrees, but it's also our reality. I turn away from him, my mind spinning. Everything is happening too fast. Yesterday I was being auctioned like cattle. Today I'm supposedly destined to save a kingdom. I need time, I say finally. I need to think, to understand. Time is something we don't have much of, Kale says quietly. The rogue attacks are increasing. The southern packs grow restless. And there are other forces at play, darker forces that I haven't told you about yet. I whirl to face him. What forces? Before he can answer, a guard bursts into the gallery, his face pale. My king, the southern border. There's been another attack. But this time, he swallows hard. They left a message, written in blood. Kale's entire demeanor changes, becoming the warrior king. What did it say? The guard's eyes flicked to me, then back to Kale. It said, "The false queen will burn, and the true darkness will rise." Silence falls like a hammer. Then Kale moves, swift and decisive. Double the guard on Miss Moonstone's quarters. Alert the council, and send word to all border patrols. No one enters or leaves the territory without my express permission. Yes, my king. The guard rushes off, and Kale turns to me. This changes things, he says grimly. Someone knows you're here. Someone knows about the prophecy. And they've just declared war. My blood runs cold. Who? I whisper. That, Kale says, his silver eyes hard as steel, is what we're going to find out. The War Council meets in a circular chamber deep within the castle's heart. I'm not supposed to be here. Kale made that clear. He wanted me safely locked in my rooms with guards posted outside, but if someone is threatening to burn me, I deserve to know why, so I followed. And when Lyra tried to stop me, I simply looked at her and said, "The king said I was his equal. Equals don't hide while others make decisions about their fate." She couldn't argue with that logic. Now I stand in the shadows of the council chamber's entrance, watching as the most powerful wolves in the northern territories gather around a massive stone table. A map is spread across its surface, marked with flags and pins denoting territories, pack positions, and recent attack sites. Kale stands at the head of the table, his presence commanding absolute attention. "Show me," he orders. Marcus, the gray-haired wolf I saw with Selene last night, steps forward and points to several locations on the southern border. Here, and here, he says. 3 attacks in 5 days. The pattern suggests they're testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses. How many rogues? Elder Thomas asks. At least 50 in each attack. Organized, well-armed, and fighting with a coordination we've never seen from rogues before. Because they're not just rogues, Kale says grimly. Someone is leading them, training them. But who would dare challenge you? A female wolf asks. You're the Alpha King. Your power is absolute. Power means nothing if it's not backed by fear, Selene interjects smoothly. She's seated to Kale's left, looking every inch the queen she wants to be. Our enemies are testing whether the king is as strong as legend claims. And frankly, recent distractions may have given them hope. Her eyes flick toward the doorway where I stand, and I realize with a chill that she knows I'm here. Careful, Selene, Kale warns, his voice dangerously soft. I speak only truth. My king, she replies. The fact remains that this message, this threat against the false queen, appeared the same day you brought a stranger into our midst. That cannot be coincidence. What are you suggesting? Elder Thomas asks sharply. I'm suggesting that perhaps Miss Moonstone isn't who she claims to be, Selene says. That perhaps she's a plant, sent by our enemies to weaken us from within. Anger flares hot in my chest. Before I can stop myself, I step out of the shadows and into the council chamber. If I wanted to weaken the kingdom, I say, my voice ringing clear in the sudden silence, I wouldn't have let myself be bought at an auction for 10 million gold. I'd have found a far more subtle way in. Every head turns toward me. Cale's eyes widen fractionally. Surprise, followed quickly by something that might be approval. Miss Moonstone, Elder Thomas says carefully, this is a closed council meeting. And yet it concerns my life, I reply, moving toward the table with more confidence than I feel. If someone wants me dead, I have a right to know why. And I have a right to defend myself against accusations. You overstep, Celine says coldly. No, Cale interrupts, and there's steel in his voice. She's right. Arya, join us. He gestures to an empty chair beside him, across from Celine. I take it, feeling the weight of hostile stares. Now, Cale continues, let's focus on facts rather than speculation. Marcus, what do we know about the message? It was written in wolf blood, Marcus reports grimly. Fresh within hours of when we found it. The handwriting was deliberate, educated. Whoever wrote it wanted us to know they're not simple rogues. And the phrase, false queen? Elder Thomas muses. That suggests they know about the prophecy. Many wolves know of the prophecy, Celine points out. It's been whispered about for a decade. But few know that I've been actively searching for the destined wolf, Cale counters. And even fewer knew I was planning to bring Arya here. Which means either we have a spy in the castle, or our enemies have seers of their own. I finish quietly. Everyone looks at me. It's not impossible, I continue, trying to sound more confident than I feel. If the moon goddess grants visions to those who serve her, might not darker powers do the same for those who serve them? A heavy silence falls. The girl speaks wisdom, Elder Thomas says finally. Dark magic has been growing stronger in recent years. We've all felt it. If that's true, Marcus says slowly, then we're not just fighting rogues. We're fighting something far more dangerous. Cale's jaw tightens. Then we need to accelerate our plans. The bonding ceremony? Absolutely not. Celine's composure finally cracks. You can't seriously be considering binding yourself to her based on a prophecy that killed your mother. The temperature in the room drops. My mother died because the ritual was performed incorrectly, Cale says, his voice deadly quiet, by a seer who admitted she misread the signs. This time will be different. How can you possibly know that? Because this time, I have the right wolf. His eyes meet mine, and something passes between us. A connection that makes my breath catch. My king, Elder Thomas says carefully. Perhaps we should discuss the specifics of the ritual. Miss Moonstone deserves to know what would be required of her. Agreed, Cale says. He turns to me, and I see worry beneath his controlled exterior. The bonding ceremony is complex. It's not like a normal mating ritual. It involves channeling the moon goddess's power through both wolves simultaneously, binding not just your bodies, but your souls, your life forces. And if something goes wrong, I ask, then we both die, he says bluntly. My blood runs cold. Screaming, Selena adds with barely concealed satisfaction, burning from the inside out, as the magic tears through you looking for a vessel it cannot find. Celine. Marcus snaps. But she's right, and we all know it. Why? I ask, looking at Cale. Why take that risk? Why not just let the prophecy pass? Find another way to fight? Because there is no other way, Cale says. The darkness that's coming. I've seen glimpses of it in my dreams. It's ancient, powerful, and it will destroy everything if it's not stopped. The prophecy is clear. Only the destined pair, bonded and united, can stand against it. But you don't even know if I'm truly the one, I protest. Yes, I do. How? He reaches across the table and takes my hand. The moment his skin touches mine, that electric spark ignites again, but this time it's stronger, more intense, and suddenly, I see it. Sound shifts. Ethereal, magical ambiance. Images flash through my mind. Not my memories, but his. A younger Kale, watching his mother die in flames. His father, mad with grief, charging into a duel he couldn't win. Kale, barely more than a boy, standing before the council and swearing to find the true destined wolf, no matter how long it took. Years of searching. Countless she-wolves tested and found wanting. Hope fading with each passing season. Then, 6 months ago, a report from his spies near Shadowcrest. A she-wolf who shouldn't exist according to everything they knew about Omegas. Strong-willed, defiant, born under the right signs. And when Kale saw my face in the portrait his spy had commissioned, something in him had recognized me on a level deeper than conscious thought. Mine. Something primal had whispered. She is mine. The vision fades, and I'm back in the council chamber gasping. Kale releases my hand, and I see the same shock reflected in his eyes. You felt that, he says. It's not a question. What was that? I breathe. The bond, Elder Thomas says softly, wonder in his voice, already forming even without the ritual. I've never seen anything like it. This proves nothing, Celine insists, but her voice has lost some of its conviction. It proves everything, Marcus counters. The bond recognizes itself. That's not something that can be faked or forced. I'm still reeling, trying to process what just happened. I saw his memories, felt his emotions. For a brief moment, I was inside his mind. The ceremony must take place during the next full moon, Elder Thomas says. That's when the moon goddess's power is strongest. That gives us 3 days to prepare. 3 days, I echo numbly. Too fast, Celine objects. The king needs time to consider. The king has had 10 years to consider, Kale interrupts. And our enemies are at the gates. We don't have the luxury of time. He looks at me. But the choice is yours, Arya. I won't force you. If you want to walk away, I'll provide protection, gold, anything you need to start a new life elsewhere. And let the kingdom fall, I ask. Better the kingdom falls than force you into something you don't want. There's such sincerity in his voice, such genuine concern, that something in my chest tightens. All my life, I've been told I was worthless, too weak, too Omega, not enough. But Kale looks at me like I'm the answer to every question he's ever asked, and that vision, seeing his pain, his dedication, his hope, changed something in me. I'll do it, I hear myself say. Kale's eyes widen. Arya, I'll do the ceremony, I continue, my voice growing stronger. Not because of the prophecy, and not because I'm certain it will work, but because... I pause, searching for the right words. Because for the first time in my life, someone sees me as more than my rank, and that's worth fighting for. Something fierce and protective flashes in Kale's eyes. Then it's decided, Elder Thomas announces. 3 days hence, during the full moon, we perform the bonding ritual. And in the meantime? Marcus asks. In the meantime, Kale says, rising from his seat with the fluid grace of a predator, we prepare for war. Double all patrols, call in every favor we're owed from allied packs, and someone find out who's leading these rogues. What about the threat against Miss Moonstone? Marcus asks. She stays in the castle under constant guard, Kale orders. No one gets close to her except wolves I personally approve. I'm not a helpless child, I object. No, Kale agrees. But you're also not trained for combat against enemies who want you dead. Humor me, Arya, just for 3 days. The way he says my name, like it's something precious, makes my protest die in my throat. Fine, I concede. 3 days. The council disperses, wolves filing out with urgent purpose. Soon, only Kale, Marcus, Elder Thomas, and I remain. Miss Moonstone, Elder Thomas says kindly, I know this must all seem overwhelming. If you have questions about the ritual, about what's expected, I'm happy to answer them. I have about 1,000 questions, I admit. Then perhaps we should speak privately. Tomorrow afternoon? I nod gratefully. Marcus approaches Kale, speaking in low tones about troop deployments. I start to move away to give them privacy, but Kale's hand catches mine. "Stay," he says quietly. So I stay, listening as they discuss strategies and defensive positions. And I realize with growing unease that the situation is even worse than I thought. The rogue attacks aren't random. They're coordinated strikes designed to draw defenders away from the castle. Someone is planning to attack Stormborn itself. And in 3 days, during the ritual, the castle will be at its most vulnerable. The next morning arrives with unexpected determination. I wake before dawn, my mind churning with everything I learned yesterday. 3 days until the ritual. 3 days to prepare for something that might kill me, or save a kingdom. I can't just sit in my room and wait. When Lyra arrives to help me dress, I surprise her with my request. "I want to go to the training grounds." She blinks. "Miss Moonstone, I'm not asking permission," I say, though not unkindly. "I'm telling you where I'm going. You can either come with me or not." A slow smile spreads across her face. "I'll fetch you appropriate clothing." 20 minutes later, I'm dressed in leather pants and a fitted tunic, clothes designed for movement rather than courtly appearances. My hair is braided back, and for the first time since arriving at Stormborn, I feel like myself. 2 guards fall into step behind us as we leave my chambers. Kyle's orders, no doubt. The training grounds are already alive with activity despite the early hour. Hundreds of warriors drill in formation, their movements precise and deadly. The clash of steel on steel rings out like a violent symphony. I stand at the edge, watching, and I feel something stir in my blood. This is real. These wolves are preparing for actual war. You shouldn't be here. I turn to find Selene approaching, dressed in training leathers that somehow make her look even more regal. Her auburn hair is pulled back in a high ponytail, and there are daggers strapped to her thighs. "Why?" I ask calmly. "Are the training grounds forbidden to guests?" "They're dangerous," she says, her green eyes assessing me coolly. "Accidents happen, especially to those who don't belong. Is that a threat?" "It's a warning." She steps closer, lowering her voice so only I can hear. "You're playing a dangerous game, little Omega. The king may be blinded by prophecy and hope, but the rest of us see you for what you are. An outsider who's going to get him killed. You don't know anything about me." "I know you've never fought a real battle," Selene says. "Never commanded warriors, never made decisions that cost lives. Yet in 3 days you're supposed to become queen? It's laughable. Something hot and fierce rises in my chest. Then let's make it interesting," I hear myself say. "Fight me!" Selene's eyebrows rise. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Right here, right now. Let's see if this Omega is as helpless as you think." A dangerous smile curves Selene's lips. "You have no idea what you're asking for." "Then educate me." Activity on the training grounds gradually stops as wolves notice what's happening. A circle forms around us, warriors gathering to watch. This is insane, the rational part of my brain screams. Selene is trained, experienced, probably deadly, but I'm tired of being underestimated, tired of being dismissed. "Someone get them practice weapons," Selene calls out, never taking her eyes off me. A young warrior hurries forward with 2 wooden training swords. Selene takes one, testing its weight with the ease of long practice. I take the other, and it feels awkward in my hands. I've never been trained with weapons. Omegas aren't considered worth the effort. But I've watched. I've learned, and I've always been a quick study. "First blood or yield," Selene announces. "Those are the terms." I nod, my heart hammering. The crowd has grown larger. I spot Marcus at the edge, watching with interest. And then I see him, Kale, standing on the balcony above the training grounds, his expression unreadable. Our eyes meet for just a moment, and I see something flash across his face. Not disapproval, not fear, pride. "Begin," someone shouts. Selene moves like lightning. Sound of wooden swords clashing. Rapid combat. I barely get my sword up in time to block her first strike. The impact reverberates through my arms, nearly knocking the weapon from my grip. She follows with a series of strikes, high, low, feinting left, then striking right. I stumble backward, blocking desperately, each impact feeling like it might shatter my defenses. Pathetic, Celine hisses, pressing her advantage. Is this the great destined queen? Her words sting, but they also fuel something in me. Anger, determination. I stop retreating. The next time she strikes, I don't just block, I deflect, angling my blade to redirect her momentum. She recovers quickly, but I've bought myself a moment to breathe. Better, she admits grudgingly, but not good enough. She comes at me again, and this time I notice something. She favors her right side, putting slightly more weight there. It's a subtle tell, but it's there. I wait, blocking and dodging, watching for the pattern. There, she overextends on a right-handed strike. I drop low and sweep her legs. Celine hits the ground hard, shock crossing her face. I press the advantage, bringing my sword to her throat before she can recover. The training ground erupts in shocked murmurs. Yield, I say, breathing hard. For a moment, I think Celine might refuse, might use her superior training to reverse our positions. Then, slowly, she lowers her weapon. I yield. I step back, offering her my hand. She stares at it for a long moment before taking it, letting me help her to her feet. You got lucky, she says. But there's a note of respect in her voice that wasn't there before. Probably, I agree, but luck counts. Something shifts in her expression, not friendliness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of acknowledgement. The crowd begins to disperse, wolves returning to their training with new energy, but I notice the looks they give me now are different, less dismissive, more considering. That was either very brave or very stupid, a deep voice says behind me. I turn to find Cale descending from the balcony, his long strides eating up the distance between us. Probably both, I admit. He stops in front of me, and his eyes search my face. Are you hurt? Just my pride, maybe. Your pride seems to be doing just fine. There's warmth in his voice, and something else. Approval, respect. Where did you learn to fight? I didn't, not really. I just watched, learned by observation. Then you have natural instincts, Cale says. Rare and valuable. He glances at Celine, who's speaking with Marcus nearby. Though perhaps choose your opponents more carefully next time. She needed to know I'm not helpless. She knows that now. As does everyone else here. He offers me his arm. Walk with me? I take it, and we move away from the training grounds, the guards maintaining a discreet distance behind us. I spoke with Elder Thomas this morning, Cale says once we're alone. He's prepared detailed information about the ritual. What to expect, how to prepare yourself mentally and physically. Will it hurt? I ask quietly. Yes, he says honestly. The power of the moon goddess isn't gentle. It will feel like fire in your veins, like your soul is being torn apart and remade. But if the bond is true, if we're truly meant to be, then we'll survive it. And if we're not, then at least we'll die together. It should terrify me, but somehow it doesn't. Maybe I'm becoming numb to fear. Or maybe, impossibly, I'm starting to trust this strange, intense Alpha King. We walk through the gardens, and despite the autumn chill, there's beauty here. Frost clings to rose petals like diamonds, and the morning sun turns everything golden. Tell me about your life before, Cale says suddenly. Before the rejection. Before the auction. What was it like? I'm surprised by the question. You had spies watching me for months. Don't you already know? I know facts. I want to know feelings, what it was like being you. Something about the genuine curiosity in his voice makes me answer honestly. Lonely, I admit. Even in a pack, I was always apart. Omegas are supposed to be content with serving, with being invisible. But I couldn't. I wanted more. Wanted to matter. You always mattered, Cale says quietly. Not to anyone who knew me. I pause. When Damien and I were children, he used to defend me. Used to say rank didn't matter, that we were the same. But as we got older, as pack politics became more important, He changed, started seeing me as a burden, an embarrassment. He's a fool. Maybe. But he wasn't entirely wrong. I looked down at my hands. I'm not Luna material, Kale. I don't know how to lead, how to make decisions that affect thousands of lives, how to be what you need me to be. Kyle stops walking and turns me to face him, his hands gentle on my shoulders. You stood up to Celine, one of my most experienced warriors, without hesitation, he says. You walked into a war council where you had no right to be and spoke truth when others were too afraid. You agreed to risk your life in a ritual that might kill you for the sake of people you've never met. If that's not leadership, I don't know what is. That's just stubbornness. No. His silver eyes hold mine with an intensity that makes my breath catch. That's courage. That's exactly what this kingdom needs. What I need. The space between us feels charged with electricity. I'm acutely aware of his hands on my shoulders, the heat of his body so close to mine. Kale, I whisper. He leans closer, and for a moment I think he's going to kiss me. Every nerve in my body seems to be screaming for it. Then a horn blares, loud and urgent, shattering the moment. Kale's head snaps up, his entire body going tense. That's the warning horn, he says grimly. We're under attack. Sound of alarm horns. Running footsteps. Organized chaos. The castle erupts into controlled chaos. Warriors pour from buildings, armoring up and taking positions. Servants hurry to secure supplies and take shelter. Kale's hand finds mine and we run back toward the main castle. Get her to safety. He orders the guards. Seal her in her chambers and don't open for anyone but me. No, I protest. I'm not hiding while people fight. You're not trained for this. Then train me. Give me a weapon. Put me somewhere useful, but don't lock me away like a helpless child. We reach the main courtyard, and I can see warriors assembling on the walls. In the distance, dark shapes move through the forest, hundreds of them, advancing on the castle. This isn't a probe or a test. This is a full assault. Kyle looks torn, war waging behind his eyes. You are not useless, he finally says, but you are irreplaceable. If something happens to you... If something happens to me, the ritual can't happen, I interrupt. I know, but if I hide and the castle falls, the ritual won't happen anyway. Let me help, please. He stares at me for a long moment, then curses under his breath. Marcus, he shouts. The gray-haired warrior appears at his side instantly. Yes, my king? Take Arya to the East Tower. That's our command center. She'll be protected but useful. She can help coordinate supply lines and manage information flow. Marcus looks surprised but nods. Yes, my king. Kale turns back to me, and the intensity in his gaze makes my heart skip. Stay safe, he says. No matter what happens, stay alive. Promise me. Only if you promise the same. Deal. Then, before I can react, he pulls me against him and presses his lips to mine. Romantic music swells. The kiss is fierce, desperate, filled with everything we haven't said. I taste fear and hope and something deeper, something that thrums through the bond forming between us. When he pulls away, we're both breathing hard. 3 days, he says. All we need is 3 days. Then he's gone, running toward the walls where his warriors wait, his transformation rippling through him mid-stride. His wolf emerges, massive, silver-furred, terrifying in its power, and the sight of their king transformed sends a battle cry through the defenders. Come, Miss Moonstone, Marcus says gently. We have work to do. I follow him up the tower stairs, my lips still tingling from Kale's kiss, my heart pounding with fear and adrenaline. The war has begun, and I'm right in the center of it. The East Tower Command Center is a whirlwind of controlled activity. Maps cover every surface, marked with constantly updating positions. Messengers run in and out, bringing reports from different sections of the battle. Officers shout orders, coordinating supplies, reinforcements, medical aid, and somehow, in the midst of all this chaos, I find myself useful. South Wall needs more arrows. Someone shouts, Supply Post 3, Redirect half your stock to the south wall, I call out, checking the inventory lists in front of me. We have wounded coming from the eastern gate. Medical Station 2 has capacity. Route them there. Marcus watches me work with barely concealed surprise. After the first hour, he stops questioning my suggestions and simply implements them. You have a mind for strategy, he observes during a brief lull. I have a mind for patterns, I correct. And logistics. Turns out managing pack supplies for years gave me useful skills. He almost smiles. The king chose well. A messenger bursts in, blood on his uniform. Commander! The rogues have breached the outer courtyard. The king requests all available reserves to the western wall, Marcus curses. That's where they're concentrating their attack. He turns to one of his officers. Send word to— Wait, I interrupt, studying the map. Something's wrong. The attack pattern doesn't make sense. Miss Moonstone, we don't have time. The western wall is the strongest point, I say quickly, my mind racing. It has the most defenders, the best fortifications. Why would they concentrate their forces there? Because they're trying to overwhelm us with numbers, Marcus says impatiently, or because they want us to think that's the real attack. I trace my finger across the map to the northern section. Look, minimal activity on the north side. Almost none. That's where the old walls are weakest, where renovations were never completed. Marcus leans closer, his expression sharpening. You think it's a feint? I think someone who knows this castle told them exactly where to strike. I look up at him. The western assault is meant to draw our defenders away from the real target. For a moment, Marcus just stares at me. Then he moves. You! He points at a messenger. Find the king. Tell him we have intelligence suggesting the northern wall is the true target. Then you— He addresses another runner. Get me every available warrior to the north section, now. The messengers scatter. If you're wrong, Marcus says quietly, we've just left our strongest position undermanned. I'm not wrong. I'm not sure where the certainty comes from. But it's there, solid and unshakable. 10 minutes later, a messenger returns, pale and breathless. Commander, the king says Miss Moonstone's instincts are correct. He can sense something wrong on the northern side. Dark magic, he says. He's personally leading forces there now. Relief and terror war in my chest. Relief that I was right. Terror that Kyle is heading straight into the most dangerous part of the battle. Come on, Marcus says suddenly. I need to see this for myself. But the king said to keep me here. The king also said you're not helpless. He offers me a dagger from his belt. Can you use this if you need to? I take it, testing the weight. I can learn quickly. That'll have to do. We race through the castle corridors, guards falling in around us. The sounds of battle grow louder, steel on steel, the snarls of wolves, the screams of the wounded. We emerge onto the northern ramparts just in time to see the attack unfold. Dramatic battle music. Visceral combat sounds. They come from the shadows like nightmares given form. Rogues, yes, but not like any I've seen before. Their eyes glow with unnatural light, sickly green like poison. They move with coordination that speaks of a single controlling intelligence, and at their head is something worse. It's not quite a wolf, and not quite anything natural. Massive, dark-furred, with eyes that burn like coals, power radiates from it in waves that make my stomach turn. What is that? I breathe. Dark magic, Marcus says grimly. A wolf corrupted by forbidden rituals. We haven't seen their kind in 50 years. The creature spots the defenders gathering on the wall and lets loose a howl that sounds like metal scraping stone. The rogues surge forward in response. Then I see Kale. His silver wolf form stands at the front line, larger than any other wolf, radiating authority and power. When he howls in response, it's like thunder rolling through the mountains, a sound of challenge, of defiance, of absolute dominance. The two sides collide with brutal force. I watch, horrified and mesmerized, as Kale tears through rogues like they're made of paper. His warriors fight with coordinated precision, holding the line even as corrupted wolves throw themselves forward with mindless fury. But that dark creature is moving toward Kale with clear purpose. No. I whisper. When they meet, The impact sends shockwaves through the air. They're evenly matched. Kale's raw power against the creature's dark magic-enhanced strength. "We need to get down there," Marcus says. "The king needs support." But before we can move, something changes. The creature suddenly disengages, backing away. And that's when I see her. A woman emerges from the shadows of the forest. Tall, draped in black robes, her face hidden behind a dark veil. But I can feel her power from here, cold and ancient and wrong. She raises her hands, and darkness coalesces around them like living smoke. "Get down," Marcus shouts, pushing me behind the wall's edge. The darkness shoots forward, not at Kale, but at the castle itself. It strikes the northern wall with the force of a battering ram. Stone cracks. The ancient mortar crumbles. A section of wall collapses. Rogues pour through the breach like a flood. All forces to the gap. Marcus roars. "Hold that line!" Chaos erupts. Warriors rush to plug the breach, but there are too many enemies, moving too fast. And the robed woman is chanting now, her voice carrying impossibly across the battlefield. The words are in a language I don't recognize, but they make my blood run cold. That's when it happens. The bond, the connection forming between Kale and me, suddenly flares to life. I feel his fear, not for himself, but for his people, his kingdom. Feel his desperate need to stop that woman before she can complete whatever spell she's weaving. And I feel something else. A pull, deep in my chest, like a string connecting us. The woman is targeting him specifically. The spell is meant to kill the Alpha King. No, the word tears from my throat. I don't think. I just move. I run down the stairs from the ramparts, ignoring Marcus's shouts. The dagger is in my hand, though what I think I can do with it against a dark sorceress I have no idea. But I have to reach Kale. Have to warn him. The battlefield is chaos. I dodge fighting wolves, slip through combat, my eyes locked on Kale's silver form still battling at the front lines. The woman's chanting reaches a crescendo. Darkness gathers around her like a storm, preparing to strike. I'm not going to make it. I'm too far away. So I do the only thing I can think of. I scream his name through the bond. "Kale!" His head whips toward me, silver eyes finding mine across the impossible distance. And in that moment of connection, that moment where our eyes meet and the bond between us blazes like fire, something extraordinary happens, a sound of magic activating. Ethereal, powerful. Light explodes from my body. Not regular light. Moonlight, pure, silver, ancient. It pours from me like a flood, racing across the battlefield toward Kale. The darkness the woman hurled at him hits the moonlight instead. The two forces collide. Light and dark. Moon and shadow, and the impact sends a shockwave that levels everything within 50 feet. I'm thrown backward, hitting the ground hard enough to drive the air from my lungs. For a moment, I can't see, can't hear, can't breathe. Then hands are on me, lifting me. "Arya!" Kale's human voice, rough with panic and relief. He's transformed back, cradling me against his chest. "What were you thinking?" "You were in danger," I managed to gasp out. "I felt it. You could have died." "So could you." We're both shaking, covered in dirt and blood. His, mine, I don't know. Around us, the battlefield has changed. The moonlight is fading, but where it touched, the corrupted rogues have fallen. The dark magic that animated them burned away. The woman in black is nowhere to be seen, fled or destroyed by the clash of powers. The remaining rogues, leaderless and confused, are retreating. Kale's warriors let loose a victory cry. But Kale's eyes never leave mine. "What you just did," he says quietly, "that was the moon goddess's power, raw and untrained but real." "I don't understand." "The prophecy is true," he interrupts. "You are the destined queen. What just happened proves it beyond any doubt." His arms tighten around me. "You saved my life. You would have done the same." "In a heartbeat," he agrees. "But Arya, you can't put yourself in danger like that." Not when we're bonded in 3 days," I finish. "Kyle, we're already bonded. Maybe not officially, but that connection, what just happened, that's not normal, is it?" No, he admits. The bond is forming faster than it should. Stronger than it should. He touches my face gently, which makes it even more important that we complete the ritual properly. What you just did, channeling that much power without training, it could have killed you, but it didn't. This time. He stands, pulling me up with him, and I realize the entire army is watching us. But we need to get you somewhere safe while we secure the castle. Is it over? I ask. Marcus approaches, blood on his armor but standing tall. The rogues are routed, my king. We're pursuing the stragglers, but the attack has failed. Casualties? 32 dead, 80 wounded, half critically. Marcus's expression is grim. It could have been much worse if Miss Moonstone hadn't seen through their strategy. Cale looks at me with something fierce and proud in his eyes. My queen saved more than just my life tonight, he says, loud enough for the nearby warriors to hear. She saved us all. The warriors bow, not out of duty, but out of genuine respect. And I realize something has shifted. I'm not just some Omega they're tolerating anymore. I'm becoming one of them. 2 days until the full moon. 2 days until the ritual that will either bind us together or kill us both. The castle is in a state of controlled chaos. Repairs are underway on the damaged northern wall. The wounded are being tended. Fallen warriors are being honored and prepared for their final rites. And I'm trying to understand what I am. Elder Thomas sits across from me in the castle's ancient library. Scrolls and books spread between us. His weathered face is kind but serious as he explains. The moon goddess chooses her vessels carefully, he says, not often and never lightly. The power you channeled during the battle, that was just a fraction of what you could wield if properly trained. It felt like I was burning alive, I admit. Like my body couldn't contain it, because it can't, not yet. That's what the bonding ritual will do. It will forge you into a vessel strong enough to channel the goddess's power without being destroyed by it. He pauses. But it requires perfect synchronization with your mate. You and the king must be completely aligned, mind, body, and soul. And if we're not, then the power will tear you both apart from the inside. The blunt answer makes me shiver despite the fire's warmth. How do we ensure we're aligned? I ask. Trust, Elder Thomas says simply. Complete, absolute trust. No doubts, no reservations, no walls between you. The goddess cannot bond what refuses to be joined. I think about Kyle, about how much I've learned about him in just a few days, and how much remains unknown. I barely know him, I confess quietly. You know his heart, Elder Thomas replies. I've seen the way you look at each other, the way you move in sync without thinking, the way the bond already forms between you. That's not something that can be forced or faked, child. That's destiny recognizing itself. Before I can respond, the library door opens. Cale enters, and my breath catches as it does every time I see him. Elder Thomas, he greets. May I steal Arya away? There's something I want to show her. Of course, my king. The old wolf gathers his scrolls. Remember what I said, child. Trust is everything. When we're alone, Cale offers me his hand. Where are we going? I ask. Somewhere I should have taken you days ago. He leads me through corridors I haven't explored yet, climbing stairs that seem to go on forever. Finally, we emerge onto the highest tower of the castle. Sound of wind. Vast openness. Nighttime mountain ambiance. The view steals my breath. We're above everything. The castle, the forests, the mountains. The sky stretches endlessly overhead, stars scattered like diamonds on velvet, and the moon, nearly full, bathes the world in silver light. My mother used to bring me here, Kyle says softly, standing beside me at the tower's edge. When I was young and the weight of being crown prince felt overwhelming, she'd say that sometimes you need to rise above your problems to see them clearly. It's beautiful, I whisper. I wanted you to see this before the ritual, to understand what we're fighting for. He gestures at the landscape below. Every pack, every wolf, every life down there, they're all depending on us. If we fail, if the darkness rises unchecked, All of this will burn. The weight of it settles over me like a mantle. No pressure, I say, trying for humor. He almost smiles. I know it's not fair. You didn't ask for this destiny. Didn't ask to be dragged into ancient prophecies and kingdom-saving rituals. No, I agree. But maybe that's the point. Destiny isn't about what we ask for. It's about what we're willing to answer when we're called. Cale turns to face me fully, and in the moonlight, his silver eyes seem to glow. Are you afraid? He asks quietly, terrified, I admit, of the ritual, of failing, of this. I gesture between us. Whatever this is becoming. I'm afraid too, he confesses. I've spent 10 years searching for you, building you up in my mind as the answer to everything. And now that you're here, now that you're real and brave and infuriating and perfect. He stops, running a hand through his hair. I'm afraid that I'll lose you just when I've found you. Something in my chest tightens at the raw honesty in his voice. Kyle, let me finish. He interrupts gently. I need you to know. If we survive the ritual, if we succeed in binding ourselves together, I will spend every day proving myself worthy of you. I will never take you for granted, never diminish you, never make you feel less than the extraordinary wolf you are. And if we don't survive, I whisper. He steps closer, close enough that I can feel the heat radiating from his body. Then at least I'll die knowing I met my match, my equal, my queen. The word hangs between us, heavy with meaning. I was rejected once, I say, the old wound still tender, told I wasn't enough, wasn't worthy, and I swore I'd never let anyone make me feel that way again. Good, Cale says fiercely. Never let anyone, including me, make you doubt your worth. But what if I'm not who the prophecy says? What if I'm not strong enough to... He silences me by cupping my face in his hands, his touch gentle despite the calluses from years of wielding weapons. You channeled the moon goddess's power to save my life, he says. You faced down hostile nobles and won their respect. You saw through enemy strategy when trained warriors missed it. You stood in a war council and spoke truth to power. If that's not strong enough, I don't know what is. Tears prick my eyes, and I'm not even sure why. I'm so scared of failing you, I whisper. Then we'll fail together, he whispers back. But Arya, I don't think we're going to fail. He leans in slowly, giving me time to pull away if I want, but I don't want to. When his lips meet mine, it's different from the desperate kiss before battle. This is slower, deeper, filled with promise and possibility. The bond between us flares to life, and I feel what he feels, hope and fear and desire and something deeper, something that feels like coming home. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. 2 more days, he murmurs against my forehead. 2 more days, I echo. We stand together on the tower, wrapped in moonlight and each other, and for this moment, the weight of destiny feels bearable, because we're carrying it together. Ceremonial drums, chanting, sacred atmosphere. The day of the full moon arrives with crystalline clarity. I wake before dawn, my body thrumming with nervous energy. Lyra helps me bathe in water infused with moonflower petals, part of the ritual preparation. You'll be magnificent, she says, her young face serious. I've never seen the king look at anyone the way he looks at you. I hope that's enough, I murmur. She squeezes my hand. It will be. The dress they've prepared for me is stunning. White silk that seems to shimmer with its own light, embroidered with silver threads and patterns that echo the phases of the moon. It's both ancient and timeless, the ceremonial garb of queens who came before. Elder Thomas arrives as the sun begins to set, bringing with him a sense of solemnity. It's time, he says gently. The ritual will take place in the sacred grove, a clearing deep in the forest where the moon's light touches the earth most directly. It's been used for bonding ceremonies since before Stormborn Castle was built. A procession forms. Warriors line the path, their faces solemn but hopeful. Nobles bow as I pass. Even Celine dips her head, something unreadable in her expression. Marcus falls into step beside me. The king is already at the grove, he says quietly, preparing himself. Miss Moonstone, Arya, whatever happens tonight, know that you've already changed this kingdom. You've given us hope again. Thank you, Marcus. I manage past the lump in my throat. The forest grows darker as we move deeper, but the path is lit by torches held by silent wolves. The drums grow louder, more insistent, matching the rhythm of my heartbeat. Finally, we emerge into the sacred grove. Magical, reverent atmosphere. Drums, nature sounds, energy. It's breathtaking. The clearing is perfectly circular, ringed by ancient trees whose branches form a natural cathedral overhead. At the center stands a stone altar, carved with symbols I don't recognize, and above, visible through the opening in the trees, the full moon rises. Massive, silver, impossibly bright. Kale stands beside the altar, dressed in ceremonial black, embroidered with silver. When his eyes find mine, the intensity in them makes my knees weak. I walk toward him, each step feeling momentous. Elder Thomas takes his position at the altar, raising his hands for silence. The drums fade. The forest itself seems to hold its breath. We gather under the witness of the moon goddess, he intones, his voice carrying through the grove, to join two souls in the ancient bond, to forge a vessel for her power, to fulfill the prophecy spoken generations ago. He turns to Kale. Kale Stormborn, Alpha King of the Northern Territories. Do you come here of your own will? I do. Kale's voice rings clear and strong. Do you accept the risks of this bonding knowing it may cost your life? I do. And do you swear to honor and protect your chosen mate, to stand as her equal, to never diminish or dominate, but to lift and be lifted in return? I swear it, Kale says, his eyes never leaving mine. On my life and honor, I swear it. Elder Thomas turns to me. Arya Moonstone, formerly of Shadowcrest, do you come here of your own will? My voice shakes slightly, but I answer clearly. I do. Do you accept the risks of this bonding, knowing it may cost your life? I do. And do you swear to honor and protect your chosen mate, to stand as his equal, to never diminish or dominate, but to lift and be lifted in return? I look into Kale's eyes and see everything we've been through together, the fear and hope, the battles fought and won, the trust slowly built. I swear it, I say. On my life and honor, I swear it. Then let the ritual begin. Elder Thomas begins to chant in the old language, words that predate memory. Other wolves join in, their voices rising in harmony. Kale takes my hands, and immediately I feel the bond between us ignite. Whatever happens, he says softly, don't let go. Never, I promise. The moon reaches its zenith, and moonlight floods the grove. Not normal light, but something alive. Something aware. It touches us both simultaneously. Sound shifts. Magical energy building. Power surging. Fire explodes through my veins. I gasp, my grip on Kale's hands tightening convulsively. The power of the moon goddess pours into me, vast and ancient and overwhelming. Through the bond, I feel Kale experiencing the same thing. That burning. That sense of being unmade and remade simultaneously. Hold on, his voice echoes in my mind. Stay with me, I'm here, I manage to send back. I'm not letting go. The power builds, spiraling higher and higher. It feels like we're being torn apart at a molecular level, every cell in our bodies screaming. This is where Kale's mother failed, where the power overwhelmed and consumed, but Kale and I are together, bound already by the choices we've made, the trust we've built. I see you. Kale's voice comes through the bond. Everything you are, everything you've been, everything you will become. And suddenly I can see too, I see Kyle as a boy, watching his mother die. See him as a young king, carrying impossible weight. See every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of loneliness and determination. I see his heart, laid bare before me, and he sees mine. The barriers between us dissolve completely. We are separate beings, but also one, two souls perfectly aligned, perfectly balanced. The power recognizes this. Instead of destroying us, it flows through us, around us, binding us together in ways that transcend the physical. Climactic magical crescendo. Beautiful, powerful, transformative. Light explodes from our joined hands, silver and gold, moon and sun, destiny manifesting. The light expands outward, washing over the grove, over the watching wolves, over the castle and the kingdom beyond. Where it touches, darkness flees. The corrupted magic that's been poisoning the land burns away like mist before dawn. I feel the moment the bond completes. A click. A lock falling into place. A door opening that can never be closed. Kale and I are mated. Truly, completely, eternally. The light fades slowly, gently, leaving us standing in the grove still holding hands, both of us glowing faintly with residual power. I'm breathing hard, my body shaking, but I'm alive. We're both alive. Kyle's eyes meet mine, and I see wonder there. Awe, joy. We did it, he breathes. We did it, I echo, and then I'm laughing and crying simultaneously. Elder Thomas steps forward, tears streaming down his weathered face. The bond is complete, he announces, his voice thick with emotion. The prophecy is fulfilled. I present to you King Kale Stormborn and Queen Arya Moonstone, chosen of the moon goddess, defenders of the realm. The grove erupts in celebration. Wolves howl in joy, the sound echoing through the mountains like a song. Kale pulls me into his arms, and when he kisses me, I feel the bond sing between us, complete, unbreakable, perfect. My queen, he murmurs against my lips. My king, I whisper back. And for the first time since this journey began, I feel no fear, no doubt, only certainty that I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Morning sounds, peace, hope, new beginning. 3 months later. I stand on the same tower where Kale first showed me the kingdom. But everything is different now. The corruption that plagued the land has been cleansed. The rogues have scattered, their dark leader destroyed by the ritual's power. The southern packs have sworn loyalty, recognizing the strength of a united kingdom. And I've learned what it means to be queen. It's not about power or status. It's about service, about standing between your people and the darkness, no matter the cost. There you are. Kale's voice comes from behind me. I feel him before I see him. Our bond so complete now that I always know where he is, what he's feeling. He wraps his arms around me from behind, and I lean into his warmth. Just thinking, I say. About how much has changed. How a few months ago I was being auctioned off, believing I was worthless. And now you're the most powerful wolf in the kingdom, he finishes. Besides me, of course. I elbow him gently and he laughs. You know what I mean, I say. It's surreal. Sometimes I still expect to wake up back in Shadowcrest. Discover this was all a dream. If it is, I'm having the same dream. He turns me to face him. And I never want to wake up. His lips find mine, and the kiss is sweet, unhurried. We have time now, all the time in the world. When we break apart, he's smiling, a real smile, open and happy in a way I rarely saw when we first met. The council meeting is in an hour, he reminds me. They want to discuss expansion plans for the Eastern Territories. Let me guess. Selene has opinions. Selene always has opinions. He grins. But she respects you now. They all do. It's true. Selene and I will never be friends. But we've reached an understanding. She serves the kingdom faithfully, and I value her experience and strategic mind. Come on, Kale says, taking my hand. We have a kingdom to run. As we walk back through the castle, our home, I think about destiny. The prophecy said I would either save the kingdom or watch it burn. But it didn't mention what would happen after it. Didn't mention falling in love with a silver-eyed king who saw strength in me when I couldn't see it myself. It didn't mention finding family among warriors and nobles who started as strangers. It didn't mention discovering that being rejected by one pack just meant I was destined for something greater. The path ahead won't be easy. There will be new threats, new challenges, new battles to fight, but I won't face them alone. I have Kyle. I have this kingdom. I have purpose, and I have finally learned the truth that eluded me for so long. I am not an Omega. I am not defined by my rank or my past. I am Arya Moonstone, Queen of the Northern Territories, chosen of the Moon Goddess, and I am exactly where I'm meant to be. This has been rejected and humiliated at the auction, claimed by the Alpha King. Thank you for listening.